I have all the materials in place and I'm ready for a new project, one that actually thrives in this kind of weather. Bring it on. I am planting up a new succulent container. Hi everybody, I'm Lori. Welcome to Milkweeds and Roses, a Zone 5B garden here in Iowa or Florida. I'm not sure which. Feels like Florida, right? That's the same all across the country. But how do we deal with the heat wave? You know, we try to keep things watered as best we can. We check on our plants, but we really should limit our exposure outdoors just for the sake of health. So just make sure everything is going well. And on days like this, an unbelievable break in the heat, I think it's a one-day break because there's rain moving in, I've got a project I can do outside. And these plants actually love this heat. I'm planting up a succulent container. I got some succulents online and a few other things at my local garden store. It's a good time to buy some because they're low on inventory. The plants that are there that are remaining are really the toughest of the tough. Am I right? So let's go ahead and make something beautiful, even in ugly weather. Here we go. Now you'll notice there's a lot of daylight behind me here. The fence has been started. They ripped out the old one, but the new one isn't completely up yet. They've got the posts in place. And I have to wonder how tall this fence is going to be. Good heavens. It might block out a little more of the light from the west than I anticipated. But, you know, the neighbor behind us has a swimming pool, so by law they have to have a fence. And this is going to be a big one, as far as I can tell. Anyway, while we wait for that crew to show up and it'll get loud, let's go ahead and get this started. So here's what I've got. A nice succulent container that I actually ordered online from White Flower Farm. It's a pretty pot. And it does come with a saucer, but for the sake of the succulents and outside and you know, just for the sake of drainage, I'm not going to put the saucer underneath it right yet. But when I bring this indoors, which is my plan, then I will. Now, some of the succulents that I ordered online aren't ones that you can really see around here anyway. So this one is called Fizzle Sizzle. It's kind of unusual. And this one, which I also haven't seen before, Raindrops. As you can see the raindrops on there, hopefully. Some of the others are pretty standard, and I also have a cactus, which I might save. Love the shades of pink here. Pink moonstone, sorry. Pink moonstone. Now, I think I'm having some of these leaves drop off because I had this outside sitting on a saucer, a plastic saucer, and it rained. And this got a little too wet. And you know, succulents don't like to get wet. So it's dropping some of its leaves. Now, I think it'll snap out of it. Sometimes you can propagate these, but if they're mushy, they're not going to work. So I'm just going to set these aside. They're probably not going to propagate those. They look like it's got rot. So it is a good time to repot this because this soil that it is in got too wet. All right. It's kind of the case here too. Blueprints. The bottom ones are deteriorating because this just got too wet. So I will put it in new soil, specific soil for cactus and succulents, and I'm not going to water it. I'm going to put it in here, let it dry out a little bit, protect it from the rain if that's coming. And yeah, see how that goes. Celosa demon, I don't know. Haven't heard of this one, but it's just a different type of succulent. I imagine we can find that. And it does produce little pups. So let's see how we get this together. And if it's too boring, I might have to add something to it just for the sake of interest. I also have another plant, some other plants I got this real pretty little container. And I thought this would be nice for a coleus. Now this is a house plant Now I do give these summer vacations, but I'm trying to keep an eye on this one. Just got it. But I thought that would be kind of nice foliage, nice color in that. So that'll be my next step. But I also have a couple of plants that haven't, I think I just forgot about them honestly, that never got planted up. So these are things I started from seed, impatiens, burgundy, accent burgundy, and a little geranium, which broke off. I think an eastern chipmunk did that. So I just stuck it in this soil and it started to root and grow some new leaves. So I thought, okay, let's go ahead and put that in here and see what happens. I don't know. And I have, now these are in the garden store. They look pretty rough, but these are the tough guys. If they're still going, they're pretty tough. Just some zinnias, you know, your garden variety. So I might put those, we'll see what happens. I'm not sure what to do with all of these different things. I have another pot, which is sort of nondescript, that I might put the zinnias. Let me show you. Now this had radishes. Yeah, had radishes, which I've already harvested. Pepito hybrid, round radish. I was really happy with that one. Look, came out pretty good. But I'll refresh the top few inches here of the soil and maybe put the zinnias and the impatiens in here. I think that's what I'll do. And I'll save this dark decorative pot for the other plant that I will take inside for the winter. So these are just for annuals. We'll do that one later. But let's start with the succulents, okay? We can get that done. First, the soil. Let me see if you're close enough so you can see what's going on here. All right, there we go. Now I have this head planter that I also ordered from White Flower Farms. Love her, but look, she doesn't have a drainage hole. So, yeah, I could get a plant to just set in there, I suppose, and then just drain it. Or I could, drill a hole in the bottom, but I'll save that for another day. We've got to get these succulents replanted because they're failing and they're too wet. So, first order of business, get this soil in there. And I also have some rocks and different things for top dressing. I might try something different. We'll see what's going on. Now you'll notice this soil, let me move these aside, is very, as Monty Don would say, very free draining, right? So there's perlite in there, there's coir, there are different types of things. It's not real rich as far as nutrients go because succulents don't like that. Everything they need is in their leaf, They don't like to be over-fertilized or over-watered. That's the quickest way to death. Now I'm going to put this cactus aside. I might put him in another container. But to start with, let's get the tall guy in the middle, shall we? Yeah, it looks pretty wet. Make a little hole. See, the leaves are falling off as I am here. Put him in the middle to start with. Now these can get, maybe upwards of here, nice and bushy. And this is real pretty, and I like the pink ends of it, which will help sort of blend in with this one. Let's see how this looks. Interesting. Also more towards, I think, what do we got? Don't want to plant it too deep. Now, let's try raindrops. This desperately needs some top dressing. This is a cute little one. If I can remember the name, Setosa, well, Echinacea, but that's pretty. I'm going to leave a little bit of space here because I've got some other succulents in a different container that, actually a couple of containers that I will save at the end of the season. Bluebird, that's pretty. Bluebird. Stem seems kind of weak. I hope it's going to be all right. Yeah, I would like to save a couple more of these succulents that I've got outdoors here. Another bluebird. Let's put the bluebirds together, shall we? And this one, Blue Prince, so a little bit bigger. Clean up some of that on the bottom. Again, this just got too wet. It's well rooted. It's just that it's wet. Let's move you over here, darling. Which is easy enough to do at this stage. No, I think I want you in between these two. Let's do that. I'll do you in between. And yes, I do talk to my plants. Anybody else out there do that? Give them a little bit of encouragement when you're planting them. I'm like, come on, darling, you can do it. Okay. Now I do have some different types of decorative rock, and your basic, river stone. But let me see if I have something a little more exceptional, because some of these plants are a little more rare. And I also want to dissuade the diggers, because these are going to be outdoors for a while. They love the outdoors, and that'll help them beef up. Let's see what I've got. Okay. Well, I have some options. So then I have to look at, what am I thinking for color? I think this is really pretty. They're just little polished rocks. I got these on Amazon. But it would bring out the blue to me. And then I also have some patio glass, which again, this helps thwart the diggers. So I might sprinkle some of this on there. And then I have a couple of my little testament rocks that come with some of these orders. Like whenever I order some white polished stones, they include a little saying, a little engraved or painted thing. This one says endurance and this one says serenity. I think either one would be appropriate here. Let me add a little more soil, first of all. Make sure this is fleshed out. Now, if this was just merely the cactus, I'd put some sand on top, and I do have some of that. I don't want to plant this too deeply, this one in particular. A little bit more. Oops, I got that dirty, didn't I? Darn it. So again, I'm not going to water this for a couple days, and it is supposed to rain tonight, possibly tomorrow. But, oops, darn it. You know how that goes. Sometimes that happens, and oops, there's another one. Now that one looks salvageable, so I might just let that dry a bit and then set that on top, and these tend to root in on their own. So I might do that. That would probably be fine. Not too deep. All right. So, yeah, I think I'm going to do these pretty little rocks right here. Pardon my reach. All right. See, isn't that pretty? I think those are gorgeous. So let's add some of those. I hope it's enough contrast to the succulents. Now this is mostly just to decorate the top. I'm not sure that it really does much to improve drainage. I mean, maybe it stops the soil from splashing onto your plants during a rain when you water it, but other than that, I think it's just for looks. Let's be real. But out here, it helps to thwart my little diggers. My little English, like chipmunks, squinnies as we call them around here in Iowa. They're just squinnies. I don't know what you guys call them, but eastern chipmunks. They're too rude to be English. They're eastern chipmunks. All right. There we go. Now let's see. Yeah, it's not bad. And these need to grow up a little bit, see how they do. So I don't know, which one do you think? Let's add a little bit of some fiberglass, just for sparkle in the sun. And to tell the chipmunks, don't dig here, it's sharp. You won't like it. You won't like it, little buddy. See, isn't that pretty, how it makes it sparkle? So this is, I guess, really fireplace glass for outdoor fireplaces. It comes in different colors. Obviously you want it someplace where you aren't gonna walk. But I just use it to thwart the chipmunks and add a little bit of distinction here, because you can see this is sharp. Yeah, you don't want to be digging around in this, and hey, neither do squinnies, right? But you certainly don't want this in any area that you or your pets are going to be walking on. So that's why I only use it selectively for containers. Now there's another one, little stinker, that fell off. So just lay them right on top. Sometimes they'll root, but you'll see little leaves coming from this petiole after it dries off. This little piece where it broke off from the stem. Then you can just sort of nestle it in a little bit more. And we'll see what we've got. So, all right. Again, I'm not going to water this at least for a couple days. If it rains, fine. I'll make sure it's got good drainage, and I am going to prop it up on some, here we go. These are just invisible under the pot. They're pot risers, and I put these under all of my pots. You can order these on Amazon. You can find them anywhere, decorative or otherwise, but you just prop them up on there, and the water drains freely underneath. Then it doesn't pool and make these succulents soggy again. So this needs a place with full sun, and I'm probably not going to keep it right here on my table just because, you know, we eat here in the summers when it's not ungodly hot out. So let me find a spot. In fact, I do have one in mind. Let's go this way. Now here's a spot that gets some good morning sun. Right, it's going to be over here. First putting the little pot props in place so it drains. Oh, gorgeous. And I chose Endurance as the one to put there. So let's go ahead and put that in there. Endurance. Yes. So again, morning sun, and it will pop over, get some good afternoon sun till about 3 o'clock also. Always little things to clean up. Things to clean up. This is Verbena bonariensis. Well, that's over here. Yes, it is. Okay. So this is the succulent container that oh, look, some berries. Yay. Well, how about that? Don't you love that? Let's get some sunlight on these guys, shall we? All right. Of course, the squinios will find those too, won't they? Oh, they're dropping. They're ripe. Well, I guess I can let them have that. But yeah, I planted this one up earlier in the year. And I'll save some of these succulents that I like to plant in here before the end of the season. But what's kind of nice about succulents, they love the heat, and it's just to plant it and forget it. You know, you can maybe harvest some pups off of it, but just as the heat goes on and the summer goes on, they just look better and better. So you can either choose to bring them inside, because in my zone 5B, most of these aren't hardy. They're not going to make it through the winter. It's not just about the cold, it's about the cold and the wet. And even this area gets cold and wet. It gets snow. So, if you want to keep them, bring them in before the frost. All right, that's it. So, pardon me, up my nose. Let's go plant up the other container. Here we go. Hello, my prince. How are you? What's up? What's up, little one? There was a mouse that ran through here earlier. I think you guys are slacking. I would think any time now the fence people would be back here to start assembling the fence. It must be, they put the posts in yesterday and there's no work done. I'm sorry, they put the posts in the day before yesterday and then nothing yesterday. So maybe they just have to let the cement at the bottom of these, firm up. I don't know. I'm not a fence person, so yeah. Well, let's see what we can get done before they show up, because then I know it's going to be loud. And so the good news is, even though this is a wide open area, my dogs have not ventured into their yard, and their big dog hasn't ventured into ours. So they're just maintaining the borders on their own, and it's probably honestly for the best. But meanwhile, I have seen Mama Cat and her kittens. So they're kind of making the rounds. They're in the area. But you know what? They're not the only thing that has showed up, and that's why I get kind of nervous. Yes, a coyote showed up in the middle of the night. My wildlife camera captured it. It didn't pop up on our doorbell camera. I had a neighbor a couple years ago say, yeah, there's a coyote that we've seen at some point. We think it's a coyote. We're not sure. And I'm like, nah, it can't be. Even though I've heard them on a spring early evening, you hear when they make a kill, it's just an atrocious noise. But I've never seen one. It's never been captured on a camera or anything until the other night. So I think it's a young one, but it came and sniffed the bowls and then moved on. Haven't seen hide nor hair of it since, and I'm like, that's fine. I know there's a place for everything, and I am a wildlife gardener, but I'd rather not have a coyote in my backyard for the sake of, welcome to the rabbits, that's fine. But for the sake of my dogs, I don't want to open up the door and have it grab my dogs. And I do think about that with this fence open, because I know about my perimeter, but I don't know about theirs. So I can't really, there's an airplane. Yeah, so I can't really ensure my dog's safety when there's a coyote and an open fence here. So everybody's on high alert with that. In the meantime, on to something we can fix, something we can do, am I right? Let's plant up another container. Now, I'm going to save the croton for this pretty container over here, but for my orphans and my zinnias, I'm going to plant up this one. Now, I'm going to refresh the top couple inches of soil. Because I was growing radishes in here. It shouldn't be spent, honestly, so I'll just refresh the top couple inches. All right. Have this left over. Happy frog, happy frog. Got this at my local garden store. And this does have fertilizer in it, a slow release fertilizer in it, which is good. But I'm also going to add some of my cactus and succulent soil and mix it up real good, because I do want some good drainage. Certainly can't help. And I will add a little bit of fertilizer on my own here. So, now these zinnias here looking a little bit rough, but I think, plant them up, deadhead them. We'll see what happens. We'll just get some nice color. I just hate to see plants go to waste that are just sitting there. That doesn't seem right. All right. Keep looking over my shoulder thinking anytime now the fence guys are going to arrive and all the noise. So a little bit of biostarter in there. Not a bunch, don't need a lot. Okay, so let's see what we're working with here. These guys first. Well, this is super dry because, like I said, this was sort of abandoned here up on the ledge. But you could see that the geranium, even though the stalk broke off, it did root in, so that's a good thing. So let's get him over here off to the side. It'll be fine. Whoops, hang in there, bud. All right. And then a couple of zinnias. Now this impatient will be a burgundy color, so maybe some of this with the pink. Let's see what we've got. These are pretty root brown, and they were super cheap. Yeah, they're root bound. These are super cheap. Let me get you down here so you can see. There we go. Apologies for that. Here we go. Now, this will be the taller plant in the middle. Okay. It's desperately needed to be repotted. I'm also going to stick a couple of these in my big burgundy container in the driveway where I've got my rose. Now, I planted 2 roses in that. One was hot cocoa and the other was dancing in the wind. And I got to tell you, dancing in the wind, I've never had that happen before, died. After, not even a week, it started to have stem die back and it just suddenly just died. So I ordered a replacement. And that one's not doing too well either, but the replacement I put in my actual garden bed. So on the north end there, kind of by where I have the hydrangea. But we'll see what happens, because it must be the variety, because I tell you what, hot cocoa is doing just fine. But in the meantime, it's looking really spindly in there with just one rose that's just barely getting started. And that's it. Let me add this little white one in here, shall we? Let's do. We've got room. Loosen it up a smidge. I'm going to deadhead some of these because really looking nasty. And here's a little errant one. It's also a seedling that was forgotten. He won't take up much space, but we'll sneak him in here, shall we? I'll let him go there. He'll go over here. All right, this tiny little plug. I'm surprised, shocked that he is still alive. Now, let's take out some of these like kind of ooky ones, shall we? Will not mind. Take that one. This is looking kind of spent too, honestly. Let's go down here. Yeah? All right. Just put on some roots for now, boys. Okay, and I am going to put in these river rocks in there to help flush this out a bit. Get a little more soil on top. And again, there's no nutrition in this cactus and succulent soil, which is probably fine for the geranium. They don't like to be overly fertilized. But these others could use a hit or two. So I think it's going to be all right. We'll see how this works. I've got some leaves to take off here too, don't I? Goodness. This is kind of rough. Okay. The river rock back on top. Again, this kind of stuff that I do is more about thwarting diggers, chipmunks, squinnies, squirrels, because they see a freshly planted pot and they're just like, ooh, I can put a nut in there. And you're like, what's going on? Why is my plant suddenly dying? It was doing well. It was healthy when I put it in. And no, that's not what's happened to my rose container, because like I said, if they were both dying, I'd suspect a squirrel got up in there and planted a nut and toxified the soil, but that's not it, because the other one is thriving. So that is not the case. Now I have some bigger rocks. These are fun. Aren't these fun? They're pretty. Look at those. I like to recycle these if at all possible. I might put some glass in this one too, honestly. Let it sparkle, stop the diggers. And you have to be careful when you dispose of this, obviously, if you've got glass in it, so you can't just dump it in your garden beds and think you won't run into trouble later when you're like, what is sharp as I'm planting in the spring? I don't get it. Well, don't forget, if you do repurpose your planting soil, don't put it on the compost pile, in other words. It will not compost. It won't break down. It'll just be sharp. So you have to put that someplace else. That's what I would say. Use it sparingly. Okay, water this one. I think Serenity goes in there, don't you? All right, there's Serenity. We'll put this on some props and put it in place. Okay, I think this will be a good spot. Once the fence gets all put together, then I can, put this stuff back up on it and away, out of the way again. In the meantime, let's get some nice morning and afternoon sun. So the first thing I need to do is the 3 pot feet. Put those down. Set it on there. Oh, it's a little bit heavier than the other one. All right, how we doing? This? Okay. All right. Larkspur. All right, let's water it. Now, unlike the succulents, I do have to water this in. Let me take off these dead leaves, clean it up a little bit. I think they got too dry at one point. They were definitely root bound, but I think that's kind of what made it look a little scraggly. So we'll water this in. It is supposed to rain tonight. All right, so that'll be even better. Oh, you too. All right. Biggest mistake I make is don't overwater your geraniums, not outside or inside, because they will rot, and you'll know right away when it happens. So, yeah, I kind of like this little. Ignore that stuff; it'll go away once the fence is done. But yeah, I like this little vignette. I like putting pots on the ledge. I've tried to get some plants to go drape over the ledge. Now, Mrs. Robert Bryden will do that, but she is such a beast. If I had known her, how aggressive her growth is, I wouldn't have put 2 there. Instead, I would have just put 1. So I ended up tying her up to the trellis to make that work a little better. He seems uninterested in all of it. But yeah, so I like having the color up on the wall. A lot of the plants in the pots on the wall will come inside when the season is done. Like this, this tall cactus and succulent container, it's mostly cactus, will come in. And not all of them, there's a geranium in there, but it's lantana. There's some, annual salvia in there. That will stay. This will come in. Again, if it's in a nice container, I will usually try to bring it inside. Those are just annuals. Those will stay. Those will be composted. I'll bring the pot in the garage because it's not hardy, but not the plant. So yeah. But this is the season of going into fall here, the season of abundance. Even though this heat wave has been hard on a lot of plants. I like the blue containers, even though I promised myself to cut down on ceramic, but jeepers, they're so beautiful. And of course my huge jade does come inside, and my lime tree comes inside. So yeah. Oh, and my croton in the blue container. You can see why I'm like, oh, and this one, and that one, and that one, and this one. So you can see why my husband's like, no more plants. I sneak them in one by one when he's at work. And he's like, now when did that get here? Oh, it's always been here. I don't know what you're talking about. It's always been here. But in the summer, this is their summer vacation. They thrive. But I love it. Yeah, but everything is looking really good, I gotta say. I mean, and I wish I would have captured it. It happened in a day and it's gone. But my hard pruned wisteria that I had to do, a drastic prune to get it off the fence, pull it forward until the fence is done and then I can reattach it. But I actually got a single raceme to rebloom. I know, that's not supposed to happen, but it did. So I pruned her brutal and watered her well. And well, there you go. I guess you never know. But yeah, she continues to put on growth. See, look at that. So yeah, I can't believe I actually found a flower in here. I mean, that's just crazy. So I do think the way this plant is propped up for now serves as a bit of a barrier for our pets, so that they think the fence is still here somehow. I mean, my guys anyway, because what are they? Not even knee high. They barely look much taller than this, or much higher than this. But yeah, it'll be good to reattach that. In the meantime, what is this now? What is this? A bloom from Oh My, her first bloom. Remember when I planted that rose? It wasn't very long ago. You're beautiful. Yes, you are. There's some dahlias in here that disappoint, but you know, it is so dry. It has been so dry and we were under a water ban for a while. Do you know what doesn't mind that? Yeah, agastache or salvia or sedum, autumn joy sedum. They're like, yeah, bring it on. I don't care. That's all right. And the hostas that have been in the shade, of course now they're getting some west light here that they're not used to, but that's just temporary. But Empress Wu, looking good. And I think this is curly fries. Look at the pretty blooms on that. Is that so cool? And a hummingbird that's been visiting thinks so too. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get some more of that. Or Shadowland water slide, that's it, Shadowland water slide. So pretty. Love that. Now, see now because of the drought, I needed to water my mandara more than I did. This is a rough time for hostas this time of year, this brutal heat. But still, I don't see any slug damage. So, I mean, you know. And I do have some late blooming varieties that are doing really well. Of course, the blue waxy coating on it also helps to thwart the slugs, so that's good. And I like the way Annabelle hydrangea holds up here in the shade. Gets some morning sun, but this is mostly shade, and I think that's honestly what this really old variety, heritage variety, needs. Everything else is just fine in here. Drinking gourd hosta. Being a little bit beat up, but still pretty good, pretty good. Now the hosta the hydrangea we just planted last week, this one is doing well here in the shade. Other two, not quite as well. So it goes to show it needs a little bit of babying when you first put them in. I had to cut this Annabelle down because it was drooping and just bashed by the rain. Now I do have a bloom from Generous Gardener. Oh, so pretty. These blooms shatter so easily, so I try to enjoy it while I can. I'm making a point of training these stems horizontally so that it does get more blooms along the stem. Here's one that I've just tied to the fence. This is just Japanese beetle right here. See how it's made it lacy? Ugh. It's not as bad as it used to be. I used to really have an infestation, but so it is better. I give credit to my birds, honestly, and beneficial insects, which I have not done this year, but yeah, I think it's birds that are helping more than anything else. Humongous, humongous. You can't really see it because of the sun. Let's get on the other side. I'll show you the rose garden and the other hydrangea update here. Love this, you know, just going through to a new garden room, right? So now, as you can see, now she's gotten plenty of water, but just too much sun. She looks fried. This is the other hydrangea. So I'll water her some more, but it shows they just need a little more babying. This is a bit of an experiment. You can see some Teresa Bonet rebloom up in there. Not a lot. She kind of gets swallowed by sweet autumn clematis this time of year. So when I do see the blooms like that, I try to pull them forward from the shrub so that they're not missed. Like here's an example. Now that's if it doesn't get Japanese beetles on it. I don't see any on this so far. Saw some little finches working in here. So hopefully that makes a difference. Okay. Now my other roses are doing fairly well. These two red varieties I don't have the names for. It was lost long ago, but this one is my favorite. It has some fragrance, but it's not deep, deep. Open stamens, open yellow stamens. Oh, that lavender, not working. Salvia, yes. Now here's the rose, which just looks fried. I don't know. It's just, you can plant them in the summer, but man, they need to be babied, because a lot of these come just straight from the greenhouse and they are not acclimated, even to Iowa winter. Can't imagine living in a hotter climate. Quicksilver, so pretty. Love that. And some of my pots, and yeah, here is hot cocoa, looking just fine, putting on leaves. So I am going to put a coleus in here, I think, just so it has something going on in this pot. That's the hope anyway. Oh, here comes trouble. I better get these guys back inside. Excuse me, sir. Hello. And how about you? Psst, psst. Come on, let's go home, boys. Well, the fence isn't done yet, but if it should get finished here before I post this video, I'll be sure to include an updated snapshot of that. A whole different vista, no doubt. But I will leave you with a few more parting shots of some things that are looking really good in the garden despite the heat. Boy, Mother Nature finds a way, doesn't it? I hope you subscribe so we can keep track of these projects and see how things are moving forward. In the meantime, thanks for joining me. I'll see you next week. Bye.